What if I told you that at this very moment, as you watch this video, invisible rivers of your life force are streaming through your palms into the void? For thousands of years, mystery schools across the globe have guarded a profound secret about the human hand. A secret so powerful that it was whispered only within the sacred halls of temples, passed down through bloodlines of initiates, and encoded in symbols that the uninitiated could never decipher. Your hands are not merely tools of flesh and bone. They are gateways, portals through which your vital essence flows like water through a broken dam. Every gesture you make, every surface you touch, every moment your palms remain unconsciously open to the world, you are hemorrhaging the very energy that could transform your spiritual awakening. This ancient knowledge was deliberately concealed because those who understood its implications recognized a fundamental truth. When you learn to seal these sacred portals, you begin to accumulate the inner fire that separates the adept from the seeker. Today, we pierce the veil of secrecy. We venture into territories that were once forbidden to all but the most dedicated initiates. What you are about to discover has the power to fundamentally alter your relationship with the invisible forces that govern your existence. The question is not whether you are ready to receive this knowledge. The question is whether you are prepared to never be the same once you possess it. To understand the profound nature of what we're about to explore, we must first journey back through the mists of time, to the very cradles of human civilization, where this wisdom was first revealed. The Egyptian Mysteries. In the shadow of the Great Pyramids, within the sacred chambers of the Temple of Thoth, Egyptian priests practiced what they called Khepri Netjer Djed, literally translated as the binding of divine emanation. Ancient papyri, discovered in tombs sealed for millennia, describe elaborate rituals where initiates learn to control what they termed the river of Ka, the life force that flows through the extremities. The famous Edwin Smith Papyrus, dating to 1600 BCE, contains cryptic references to sealing the channels of the western winds, a metaphorical description of blocking energy discharge through the hands. Egyptian hieroglyphs frequently depict deities with specific hand positions, not as mere artistic choices, but as coded instructions for energy retention. Thoth himself, the god of wisdom and hidden knowledge, is often shown with his hands positioned in what modern scholars dismiss as ceremonial gestures. But the initiated recognize these as precise mudras designed to create energetic circuits, preventing the dissipation of divine force. The Hermetic tradition. As above, so below. This fundamental axiom of Hermetic philosophy extends far beyond philosophical abstraction. The great Hermes Trismegistus, in texts that predate written history, described the human body as a microcosmic temple, with the hands serving as the primary gates through which the soul's fire could escape into the material realm. The legendary Emerald Tablet, that most sacred of alchemical texts, contains a passage that has puzzled scholars for centuries. The wind carries it in its belly, the earth is its nurse, but the guardian of the vessel must seal the eastern and western portals. Medieval alchemists understood this as a direct reference to the palms, the eastern and western portals of the human temple. Paracelsus, the renowned 16th century physician and alchemist, wrote extensively about what he called the astral hemorrhage of the extremities. His private journals, discovered only in recent decades, detail specific techniques for binding the etheric wounds that naturally occur in the palms and fingertips. The Kabbalistic Mysteries. Within the esoteric heart of Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah speaks of the Sephirot, the 10 emanations of divine energy that flow through all creation. The Kabbalistic masters recognized that these emanations could leak through what they termed the 5 gates of the hand, the palm and 4 fingers, with the thumb serving as the seal. The Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, describes how the letters of creation itself can be channeled and contained through specific hand positions. Rabbi Isaac Luria, the great 16th century Kabbalist, taught his students the Tikkun HaYadayim, the rectification of the hands, as one of the most fundamental practices for spiritual development. Ancient Kabbalistic texts speak of the Shefa, the divine influx that continuously flows from the upper worlds. Without proper sealing techniques, this precious spiritual currency is lost to the material realm, leaving the practitioner spiritually impoverished. Mystery schools and secret transmission. The Knights Templar, during their mysterious sojourn in the Holy Land, encountered Eastern masters who shared with them the ancient Persian practice of pranabandha, energy binding. Upon their return to Europe, this knowledge was carefully guarded within their inner circles, encoded in their architectural symbolism and ritual practices. The Rosicrucians, those enigmatic guardians of Hermetic wisdom, developed their own system of hand positions based on what they called the stellar correspondences. Their secret manual, Fama Fraternitatis, contains veiled references to sealing the vessels of quicksilver, an alchemical metaphor for energy retention. Even within Christian mysticism, we find traces of this ancient wisdom. The Desert Fathers of Egypt wrote about custody of the hands as a fundamental spiritual discipline. St. John of the Cross, in his mystical writings, refers to the necessity of closing the windows of dispersal to achieve union with the divine. Biblical connections. The sacred scriptures themselves contain numerous references to the mystical significance of hand positions. When Moses raised his hands during the battle with Amalek, it was not merely a gesture of prayer. It was the activation of specific energy channels that influenced the outcome of earthly events. The biblical account of Jesus healing through touch reveals a profound understanding of energy transmission, but equally significant are the moments when he withdrew his hands, instances that demonstrate the conscious control of energy flow. The prophet Ezekiel's vision of the divine chariot includes detailed descriptions of hand positions among the celestial beings, positions that early Christian mystics recognized as instructions for spiritual practice. Now that we have traced the historical streams of this ancient knowledge, we must delve into the fundamental principles that govern why this phenomenon occurs and how it can be controlled. The nature of human energy fields. According to the most sacred traditions, the human being exists simultaneously in multiple dimensions. What we perceive as the physical body is merely the densest expression of a complex energetic system that extends far beyond the boundaries of flesh and bone. The ancient Sanskrit texts describe this as the pranamaya kosha, the vital energy sheath that surrounds and interpenetrates the physical form. This energy body, invisible to ordinary perception, is in constant motion, circulating life force through specific channels called nadis. The initiated understand that where attention goes, energy flows, and where energy flows without conscious direction, vital force dissipates into the vast ocean of cosmic force. The palms as energy vortices. Through millennia of observation and practice, mystery schools identified the palms as major energy centers, secondary only to the 7 primary chakras in their significance. These centers, known in various traditions as Hasta chakras or Karuna Bindu, serve as both receiving and transmitting stations for subtle energy. The palm contains what esoteric anatomy describes as a triple spiral of energy channels. The first spiral connects to the heart center, carrying emotional and spiritual energy. The second connects to the solar plexus, transmitting personal power and will. The third connects to the base chakra, carrying the fundamental life force itself. When these channels remain unsealed, they create what the ancient texts describe as wounds in the light body, constant drainage points that prevent the accumulation of spiritual force necessary for higher development. The 5-element correspondence. Each finger corresponds to one of the 5 fundamental elements that compose all manifestation. The thumb represents the element of space, akasha, the void into which all other elements emerge and return. The index finger embodies air, vayu, the principle of movement and communication. The middle finger holds the fire element, agni, the transformative power and spiritual will. The ring finger carries water, apis, the principle of emotion and intuitive wisdom. The little finger manifests earth, prithvi, the grounding force and material manifestation. When the elements flow unconsciously through these channels, they create imbalance in both the inner and outer worlds of the practitioner. The Hermetic principle of circulation. The The great Hermetic axiom, energy follows thought, but thought requires energy to manifest, reveals why energy retention is crucial for any serious spiritual work. Without sufficient accumulated force, even the most elevated thoughts and intentions remain trapped in the realm of possibility. The ancient masters discovered that by creating specific geometric patterns with the hands, what they called sacred circuits, energy could be redirected back into the system rather than lost to the environment. These patterns, preserved in the mudras of Eastern tradition and the secret gestures of Western mystery schools, function as energetic locks and keys. The principle of sympathetic resonance. Just as a tuning fork will cause another fork of the same frequency to vibrate, the energy emanating from our palms creates sympathetic resonance with the environments and people we encounter. This is why certain locations feel energetically heavy after we have spent time there, and why sensitive individuals can detect the emotional residue left by others. The wise practitioner learns to become a closed circuit, retaining their spiritual currency while remaining open to receiving the gifts of consciousness. The alchemy of retention. In alchemical terms, the constant leakage of energy through the extremities prevents the cooking of the spiritual mercury, that refined essence that must be accumulated and purified within the inner laboratory of consciousness. This is why the great alchemist spoke of sealing the vessel as the first and most crucial step in the great work. When energy is properly retained and circulated, it begins to undergo a natural process of refinement. The base metals of ordinary consciousness are gradually transmuted into the gold of spiritual awakening. This is not metaphor. It is the actual mechanism by which consciousness evolves. Chapter 4. Testimonies and Living Tradition, 3 to 4 minutes. Throughout history, those who have mastered these ancient techniques have left behind testimonies to their profound effects. These are not mere philosophical speculations, but documented accounts of transformation that span cultures and centuries. Masters of the Eastern tradition. Paramahansa Yogananda, in his private correspondence with advanced disciples, wrote extensively about what he called the conservation of vital magnetism. He describes students who, after learning proper energy retention techniques, experienced dramatic increases in their meditative absorption and spiritual perception. The great Tibetan master Milarepa, whose songs of realization have inspired countless seekers, attributed much of his rapid advancement to techniques he learned for binding the winds of the 5 elements, direct references to hand positions that prevent energy dissipation. Western esoteric practitioners. Rudolf Steiner, founder of anthroposophy, documented cases of students who experienced significant changes in their spiritual development after implementing what he called eurythmic gestures for energy conservation. His private journals contain detailed observations of how these practices affected the student's ability to perceive supersensible realities. The renowned French occultist Eliphas Lévy, in his secret diary, discovered decades after his death, described personal experiments with magnetic sealing that resulted in what he termed the awakening of dormant faculties, clear references to psychic and spiritual abilities that emerged through energy retention practices. Contemporary confirmations. Modern practitioners who have rediscovered these ancient techniques report remarkably consistent experiences: enhanced meditation depth, increased intuitive perception, greater emotional stability, and a sense of inner fullness that was previously absent. Dr. Sarah Chen, a researcher in consciousness studies who has spent decades investigating traditional energy practices, documents how participants in her studies showed measurable increases in biofield coherence after implementing classical hand positioning techniques. The monastery records. Hidden within the archives of European monasteries are records that speak of monks who achieved extraordinary states of contemplation through practices that included specific hand positions during prayer. The Carthusian order, known for their rigorous approach to contemplative life, preserved manuscripts that detail the custody of the sacred vessels, clearly referring to energy retention techniques. Historical transformations. The biography of Saint Teresa of Avila contains numerous references to hand positions she discovered during her mystical experiences. Her spiritual director noted that she would instinctively form specific gestures during her deepest states of union with the divine, gestures that she later taught to her nuns as aids to contemplation. The testimony of the ages speaks with one voice. Those who learn to seal the sacred portals become vessels capable of containing the wine of higher consciousness. We have journeyed together through the halls of ancient wisdom, uncovered secrets that were once the exclusive domain of initiated masters, and explored the profound implications of what it means to seal the sacred portals of your being. The knowledge you now possess has been transmitted across millennia, from teacher to student, from master to disciple, in an unbroken chain of spiritual transmission that now includes you. This is not mere information. It is a living transmission that carries within it the accumulated wisdom of countless generations of spiritual practitioners. When you implement these techniques, you join a lineage that stretches back to the very dawn of human consciousness. Remember that what you have received today represents only the first key to a vast treasury of esoteric knowledge. Each level of mastery opens doorways to deeper mysteries, more profound techniques, and greater degrees of spiritual freedom. The sealed vessel becomes a lamp that lights itself, a fountain that never runs dry, a temple that houses the presence of the divine. As you continue your journey of discovery, know that you walk a path that has been traveled by the greatest souls in human history. The techniques you now understand were once the secret treasure of pharaohs and philosophers, of mystics and magicians, of saints and sages. The choice before you is simple yet profound. Will you remain a vessel with broken walls, constantly in need of refilling, or will you become a sealed chalice, capable of containing and multiplying the precious essence of your spiritual nature? The ancient masters await your decision. The lineage holders of this sacred knowledge extend their invitation across the centuries. Your transformation begins not with dramatic gestures or complex rituals, but with the simple recognition that you are already the temple. Step forward into your inheritance. Claim your place among those who guard the inner fire. Become the sealed vessel that was always your true nature. The journey continues, the mysteries deepen, and you are ready for what comes next. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of ancient wisdom. If this knowledge has resonated with your soul, I invite you to explore more of these hidden teachings through the other videos on this channel. Each one reveals another facet of the great mystery that is your spiritual awakening. Until we meet again in the realm of sacred knowledge, may your practice bear fruit, and may your vessel remain forever sealed to the lower and open to the higher.